Planet of the Apes tells the story of 3 astronauts, only one of which will actually have a career after this, played by Charlton Heston, who enters deep hibernation. Unfortunately, something goes wrong when they crash into a lake on an unknown planet and wake up 2,000 years into the future. They search the area trying to find answers before they find some greenery, water, and other humans, though they are barbarians unable to speak for some reason. They also discover that this particular planet is overrun by apes who attack. The apes treat humans like, well, apes.
Nothing more.
But are fascinated with Heston, who seems more intelligent and is actually attempting to form words. He attracts the attention of Zira and a fella Cornelius, played by Roddy McDowall, who's more sensitive towards him than the others, but he's even given some woman to mate with.
It squashes a man's ego.
Eventually, he shows his full intelligence by communicating with a notepad before an escape attempt leads to him finally speaking, and the rest of the film is them trying to learn from each other before, plot twist, this actually is planet Earth after all! Who would have seen that coming?
That's a good question.
The movie actually began production way earlier than you'd think. Producer Arthur P. Jacobs purchased the rights to the books by Pierre Boulle before it was even published way back in 1963. Weird, because Pierre considered this the worst novel he had ever written. And weirdly, Charlton Heston himself also thought the book sucked as well.
Touchy, isn't it?
He pitched this project to several studios, but they all turned it down. It was in 1964, however, when he made his debut with What a Way to Go, and then followed up with Dr. Dolittle, and the vice president of 20th Century Fox finally greenlit Planet of the Apes. It was a close call too, because Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone was nearly made in its place, but was soon shut down. Weirdly, this film was almost used as a Twilight Zone spin-off. Because that makes sense.
Nonsense.
The main worry was funding, with the sheer amount of sets, props, and special effects being far too expensive. They decided to make the apes more primitive to save money, and Rod Serling came up with a famous twist ending, though it was constantly changed whether the statue would be on a beach, in a jungle, or even completely destroyed in pieces. Weirdly, this wasn't even the ending in the book. In the novel, it actually is another planet, but they do return to Earth at the end. But we've already established that the book was terrible, so who cares?
I did.
They needed to convince the studio that this movie could be done, so they shot a test scene from an early draft of the script with early versions of the ape makeup, with Charlton Heston even appearing. They even used, at the time, unknown actors James Brolin and Linda Harrison to portray Cornelius and Zira. Harrison actually got a role in the final film, and even in the Tim Burton version over 3 decades later. Others considered for the original role, however, included Ingrid Bergman, who later claimed rejecting this part was the biggest regret of her entire career, Ursula Andress, Raquel Welch, and Angelique Pettyjohn. Pettyjohn. That name is actually amazing.
I know what you mean.
And others considered for the lead before Heston landed it were Sean Connery, Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, George Peppard, Rod Taylor, Burt Lancaster, James Garner, Rock Hudson, Gregory Peck, Cliff Robertson, Stuart Whitman, and even John Wayne. Oh yeah, that'd be good. Get your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape. Oh.
Don't be foolish.
It went on to be nominated for only 2 Academy Awards for Best Costume Design and Best Original Score, and although it won neither, it did pick up an honorary Academy Award for John Chambers for the makeup. The movie also, when adjusted for inflation, maintains the record for the highest budget for makeup in history, with $345,542, which was 17% of the overall budget of the movie, just on makeup. Filming began on May the 21st, 1967 near the Grand Canyon and lasted until August the 10th that same year, and was then released on February the 8th, 1968 to worldwide acclaim, noted as one of the greatest and impactful films in history. Though, of course, someone's got to be offended. Yeah, when Heston realizes he's actually on Earth, he says,
Oh my God.
and this, of course, sent censors in a frenzy because he used the Lord's name in vain. And some even claim that he's blaming God for the destruction of the world. Yeah, that's exactly what it means. Piss off and get a life.
Shut up, you freak!
I kinda have to talk about the makeup. Yes, it's amazing and far more convincing than any CGI I've seen. It actually took so long to apply, the cast and crew were required to keep it on during breaks, using straws for their drinks, and were responsible for their own makeup if it messed up, constantly checking themselves in a mirror. Can you just imagine being the cleaner on set? You're just sweeping up or something, and then you'd see an entire cast of apes just sat at a table eating a sandwich.
You're negative.
But the makeup is incredible. They're still capable of facial expressions. It's not overkill. It looks real and genuine, and for its time, it is damn impressive. The cinematography and scenery of the planet looks great. The direction is a bit weird though. Sometimes switching to unnecessary POV shots, but they don't do it too much, so it's not that big of an issue. Except here when it looks like some kid with ADHD sneaked into the editing room. What the hell is this?
Maybe he is intelligent, but he's also, crazy.
The opening titles are actually insanely ominous and creepy. They set a really uncomfortable tone. You'd expect this in a damn sci-fi horror. Is this Planet of the Apes or The Thing? They discover one of their crew members unable to wake up and... Dang! Is that really necessary? You see, growing up, my dad loved these movies and I could just never get into them. They weren't really my thing and I just found them boring. I mean, how do you even pitch this movie to a studio? Hey guys, just hear me out, okay? 3 dudes go in a ship and they crash land, right? Stay with me, just give this a chance, on a planet ruled by monkeys.
That's about it.
But I was actually a lot more into it this time around than I expected. I mean, apes finding humans dumb and learning from them, it's really interesting. They can't communicate and try to get them to learn words. Oh, just like me and my ex. Come on, that's the colour red, say it.
Don't bother.
But then there are just downright weird moments like...
Come on.
In fact, Heston's character is pretty much a complete dick in this. I mean, they've only just realised they're 2,000 years in the future and all of their family is dead. They've only just come to terms with it and he's like, yeah, get over it.
300 light years from your precious planet. Your loved ones are dead and forgotten for 20 centuries. 20 centuries! Even if you could get back, they'd think you were something that fell out of a tree.
Such a sensitive young man. Now let's dig up the only life we've discovered and kill it instantly. But what the hell is with this chase music? Best original score? It sounds like a bunch of dying birds falling onto an orchestra.
Taylor! Look at this!
Whoa, dude, you have a tiny dick! They actually do a great job building the suspense of what this planet is. Well, you know, despite the title. But we don't see the apes until half an hour in and we just get glimpses. It's really well built up, but these guys are kind of dumb. I mean, Heston sees a map at one point and apparently it's clearly a part of New York and he doesn't recognize it. The apes clearly have horses and saddles and guns. They can breathe there. It has a single sun and moon. These are scientists and they didn't realize that they're on Earth. But unfortunately, the first time we do see the apes, it's very, very anticlimactic. I mean, I expected this big dramatic reveal, and then it's just them on a horse like... Hey, sup? Wow, 2,000 years and this is the best camera they invented? They should be ashamed. There's a scene where Heston is in this cage and he tries to communicate by writing in the sand, but the Neanderthals ruin it. Now, after Heston gets into a fight and is taken away, the writing is magically back again. How? He didn't have time to redo it. And he keeps trying to steal the notepad and pen, clearly looking like he's attacking them, but why doesn't he just... But that's all he has to do. Why is that difficult?
Why do you insist on provoking him?
No creature can survive in the Forbidden Zone. I know, I've been there, I've seen it.
No one who's ever gone in that area has survived. I know, because I've been in that area. And survived. In fact, if no one's been there and survived, how would you know someone's been there and not survived? Unless someone literally said, right guys, I'm off to the Forbidden Zone, catch you later dudes. Oh no! And I have to say, this is pure genius.
Cornelius has developed the most brilliant hypothesis.
But I'm probably wrong.
That the ape evolved from a lower order of primate, possibly man.
That is genuinely one of the smartest and funniest things combined ever put to film. This is so weird. There's this big dramatic moment just for this ape to scrunch up a paper airplane. Oh, what a monster! He must be the villain. During his escape attempt, you spot these human mannequins and you actually expect Heston to pretend to be one. But no, he actually doesn't. Kudos to the movie for not pulling the expected. And the famous line is indeed epic, but, well, this one isn't.
Julius, you... I said shut up! It's a madhouse! A madhouse!
It's just random and out of place. Why would you say that? Everyone's going nuts! Going nuts! But I have to wonder, why can't the other humans speak? They can all understand English, but they can't learn it for some reason. And they eventually put him on trial, and it drags so much, it is unreal. Luckily, they save it with this.
As an animal psychologist, I have found no physiological defect to explain why humans are mute.
Objection! Sustained!
Their speech organs are adequate.
And amazingly, that was actually improvised.
Prove it.
And that's just the rest of the film. They give a lot of exposition about their planet, the apes, they want to learn where Heston came from, and it's just not particularly interesting to me. It's just a whole lot of boring talking that doesn't really progress that much.
Why did you do that? Scrape off your hair.
In my world, when I left it, only kids your age wore beards.
Hey! Wait. Never mind, you're right.
Man was here first. You owe him your science, your culture, whatever civilization you've got.
Then answer me this. If man was superior, why didn't he survive?
But they did. Your planet is crawling with man. They're like all over the place. You've got them locked up in like zoos! Just because they can't speak doesn't mean they're extinct! And you know what? Credit to the makers of the Statue of Liberty. It lasted 2,000 years. Now that is great craftsmanship. Despite the fact that they clearly should have known that it was Earth, but you know, who cares? The twist is pretty cool. Just like the rest of the movie. Due to the insane success of the original, Rod Serling was brought back to write a sequel, but his outline was completely discarded for an entirely different story, leading to films in 1970, 1971, 1972, and 1973. How did they make one of these movies a year?
Can you believe it?
It also led to a TV series in 74, an animated version in 75, a remake by Johnny Depp's Bay in 2001, a reboot a decade later, 2 sequels, comic books, and it continues to be one of the most iconic franchises in history. The original film may drag at the end, but it's still a fantastic idea with tremendous acting, intense storytelling, and amazing makeup. Definitely a film to check out. Two trailer park cars go round the outside, round the outside, round the outside.